Now, the method of separating I wanted to look at today is called a few different names. One of the names that you might have heard of before is sieving or sifting. And what we use is the size of the particles to try and separate what's there. So if I have really large particles and quite small particles, often it's easy enough just to pick them out and pull them apart like I did with the beans and the ping pong balls. When you've got things that are quite similar in size, you can still separate them by their size, just might need a different size mesh to separate them. So if I make a mixture now with some rice and some flour, the particles are quite different sizes. So you can see when they're all mixed up, you've got some that are big and some that are quite small. Now what would be a good way to separate those? Well, not sure if you've seen one of these before, but it's called a sifter, and it's got a mesh in the bottom that will separate the particles out. If I use a different kind of mesh, maybe if I use a mesh like this, do you think that will work? Well, I think all the particles will fit through that mesh, so no, I don't think that will work. Do you think a colander will work? Well, we can try that. Let's see. We can try using the sifter and we can try using the colander. I'm going to put it into a dish here that's captured at the bottom. So if I tip my mixture into a colander, you see what comes out the bottom? Well, I've got some flour, but I've also got some rice. So what's happened with the colander is the particles, big or small, are all fitted through the holes. So that wasn't a great way of separating. In fact, it didn't separate them at all. Maybe mixed them more than anything. So what would you use at home if you were trying to separate something from flour? Well, a sifter has a really fine mesh, and so only the really small particles, like the flour particles or maybe sugar particles, can fit through there. So let me put that in here. As I turn it, I don't think you'll hear the sound of any rice hitting the bottom. If you look inside, as I turn the handle, you can see that the rice gets turned around and the flour comes out the bottom. So that method of separating is good for separating things with different sizes, because the bigger ones get trapped, the smaller ones can go through. So that was a sifter. You've probably got one of these at your house, a colander. You might even have one of these, which is the same sort of sized holes as a colander. Or you'd use that to separate. Have some ideas? What kind of food would you separate with a colander? Well, there's another way we can separate as well, and that's using an even finer mesh. So the different size mesh is really good for separating really small things. And the next kind of separation I'm going to talk about is called filtration, filtering. So I'm going to separate some things using the size of the particles to separate them. And we're going to look at filtering in particular, because filtering is used where you've got a liquid and some particles in the liquid, not two solids. That can work if you want to sift or strain something, but for filtering, you've always got a liquid involved. You often have something else that you need to use. So this is a funnel, one of the pieces of equipment you can use in the lab, but you can also use it at home. So I've got a funnel here, and this funnel just on its own is probably enough to separate my ping pong balls, my really big particles, from some water. If I tip that in there, you'll see they get trapped in the top, and the water can run through the funnel out the bottom. But don't just use a funnel for filtering, you also use a mesh. We looked at the mesh before in the sifter, it was quite small. This is a kind of mesh that you can use. You can use, this is a piece of cloth made of cotton. You can use this to filter. You can use this, it's called cheesecloth. You can use it to filter cheese if you want to. And if you want to filter really big things from little things, it's quite good at holding things in place. So the water can go through and the big particles get caught in the cloth. Now if you don't have a funnel at home, really easy way of making a funnel of your own is using the top of a drink bottle. So I thought I'd try this as my funnel. I'm going to try and separate ping pong balls, but let's make another mixture and see if we can separate this. I'm going to use a rubber band to hold it in place, just because it can fly off quite easily. And I'll either hold it here so you can see it, or I'll set that into something to catch the liquid at the bottom. This might work quite well. And the liquid will go through the bottom and the particles you're trying to catch are at the top. So what could we separate? Got some rice here from before. If I mix some rice with water, it's not going to dissolve. If you have a look, you can see that the rice is quite heavy, big particles, they sink to the bottom, and you've got a mixture here with everything mixed up. But because there's a liquid, what I can try and do is pour this through my container and see what happens. I've got quite a lot of water here, so I'll just keep tipping some of the water off. What I should be able to do is catch the rice in the cloth at the top. Alright, now I let it sit there for a little while. Even more of the water will start to drip through, and I'll be able to filter the water out and catch the solid particles at the top. So that's what filtering looks like. You don't have to use this kind of cloth. It's got quite big holes in it, so if you've got something that's even smaller than rice and you want to catch the particles that are in something smaller, maybe something like sand, that might be quite small. What we can use is some paper towel, and that works just as well. So if I have a mixture, I'll just take this one out. And instead of putting the cloth in the top, what you can do is put some paper towel in the top, and that's quite good at separating things. Doesn't always sit nicely. At school, we probably make it into a square and then make the point of that square sit down inside the funnel. Once it gets wet, it holds its shape quite well. So that's a way you can filter using paper towel as your sieve, or you can use cloth as your sieve. We call that filtering or filtration. So why not make your own filter funnel and then choose to filter some mixtures yourself? I would suggest you use some things from the kitchen, some foods that are not going to matter if you use a little bit of it. So maybe a teaspoon of flour and a teaspoon of rice. See how you go separating that. Maybe you've got some fruit that you could juice and have a look at, after juicing it, how clear you can get your separation, how much you can separate, whether you're using cloth or paper towel. You can see my paper towel here has collected a lot of particles from the juice, and my juice that's come through should be quite clear. But that's your activity.